Alright, Daredevil 352. This is a fill-in issue using one of the hardest tricks in the book of misleading comic covers. People will grab up this issue because they love Bullseye Man. He is their favourite Daredevil enemy, but he is not in this. It is the hard trick of slapping a very well-known villain on the cover as enticement, when what we have inside isn't actually them. Our issue is by Raab, with art by Shawn, Shane McGowan, singer from the Pogues. I was going to say how he is going to die soon, surely. But it turns out he did die when I was in hospital last year and I missed it. We were admitted to hospital on the same fucking day. What a world. Anyway, here is Daredevil. The writer you might know. We will hopefully be looking at his best work later this month, finally. And the artist has been around the block, but his longest run, I think, is Dr. Fate's, Jim Tomatis' Dr. Fate's. He was the artist for that. He is very, very stylised, but he does rein it in a bit for this. Daredevil is coming out of a period of misery that lasted years, and this is where things turn around. After this issue, we begin a run by Callum Cazazo and later Joe Casey. They will do some very good comics that you might have missed out on. I would call it the vague age of Daredevil. I read through them all, and that period was a thankful remedy to the 50 or so issues that came before them. Our plot is Froggy. He is approached by a new client, and she uses her real name, so the twist was completely blown for me. But I won't blow it for you. Although you might want her to blow you. Dirty mind. She is trying to claim some real estate, and Froggy is quite taken with her, and Daredevil is overhearing this. Literally overhearing because of his delicate hypersenses. Currently, Froggy, he is in the off with Daredevil, with Ben Matlock, because, well, it was only 2 or 3 issues ago, Froggy finally learned about Daredevil's secret identity. It came after a horrendous story with Daredevil having split personalities that wear different Daredevil costumes. But the one important, lasting repercussion was Froggy learning that his law partner and his best friend, Ben Matlock, was Daredevil. They aren't on friendly terms right now. Froggy feels betrayed that Matlock kept this secret from him all along. Thankfully, this does resolve rather quickly when we start the run proper. But I think Froggy's upset is reasonable. He is usually overshadowed by Matlock professionally, and now he has learned all along he has also been a fucking costumed vigilante. And we do have a tiny bit of forward progress with this relationship in this filling issue. We also have this as a distinctly art school filling vibe. I find it easy to recommend to most of you because it really does have all the hallmarks of a late 70s, early 80s filling issue. Daredevil, he goes to inspect this real estate that Froggy's client is buying up. It is a circus grounds, and I started to panic. It better not be the fucking circus of crime. It's not, thankfully, but then I turn to the next page and we see white gloved hands operating computers and a monitor watching Daredevil. And I thought of something even worse than the fucking circus of crime. I got worried it was fucking Carrot Top. That I am not venomous from the word I'll read should be a hint that it is not Carrot Top. But he does actually have some ties to this story going on. Unlike stories featuring Carrot Top or the Circus of Crime, we actually have some legitimately mint visuals here. Daredevil is attacked by headless robots, but where their heads should be appear holograms of the heads of some of his villains. Very, very, very fucking clever writing here, foreshadowing the reveal. This is some of the tightest, most subtle foreshadowing I have ever read. Daredevil recognises the heads. He knows that it is Thyroid Mary and Owlman. Now think for a minute. If they were holograms, he wouldn't be able to observe that. It is also, the other thing is, it's just fucking fun. We have little flying Cupid baby robots with Kingpin Man's head. If Carrot Top did pieces as original and fun as this, I wouldn't hate them as much. This is fun. It is a type of fun that is a solid mix of weird and unique without feeling like it is trying to be outrageously funny or odd or wacky. It's all reasoned quite well within the issue too. At this point, you might be thinking it is Mysterium. Mysterium is behind all this. You will all be thinking it is Mysterium because in Kevin Smith's dreadful Daredevil story, he uses Mysterium, and he has Mysterium refer to a recent encounter with Daredevil. Now that encounter does indeed happen in the vague age of Daredevil, but it is not this fill-in issue. The actual reveal of who it is won't land with almost all of you, but it works for me. Inside a tent, we have our false promise from the cover. Froggy, he has been captured, he has been tied up, and now Bullseye Man and Electro, they are at either side of him. Bullseye Man is going to kill them both with playing cards. He is going to slash their throats with playing cards. And so Daredevil, he instinctively leaps for Froggy. He saves Froggy, leaving Bullseye Man to finish off Electro by copying how he originally did so. Then, all but Froggy fade away, and our villainess is revealed. It is Mr. Mind. And I realise I call both Mindworm and Mastermind Mr. Mind. But it kind of works because there was also a Mastermind in Captain Britain that had nothing to do with Mastermind. Just like our Mindworm has nothing to do with Mastermind. Wait, Mr. Mind is a woman? Huh? Okay, let's do it. Let's explain here. She is the daughter of the excellent men villain, Mr. Mind. The hard guy who was in the Evil Brotherhood of Evil Muties of Evil, and then later the Bondage Club, and he performed Christopher Clairvoyant kinks upon Phoenix. He died in 1993. And there is a part of his death story that contradicts the idea he ever had a daughter or children. But I might talk about that in another video, because it doesn't matter here. This Mr. Mind, his daughter, Martinique, was introduced in Wolfman and Ed Gambit Victims, a miniseries by Jeff Nobles and Sailor Tim. It staggeringly pales in comparison to their more renowned work on Batman, or even Daredevil Yellow, which I consider their best work together. Martinique has the same powers as her dad, more or less, and she was leading the two heroes on for a large portion of the story, pretending to be an ally, pretending to be an SHIELD agent, pretending to work for MI5, all sorts. In truth, she was working with Carrot Top. Now, I hope you understand how extraordinarily intentional that cutaway to Uncanny Excellent Men 197 was at the start. And Carrot Top had a fallen out at the climax of that story. They became enemies. Currently, we have Martinique. She is trying to acquire Carrot Top's hard resources, his hard hideouts. And actually, she just wanted to get Froggy and Matlock's legal services because she thought it would get Daredevil to investigate and she could try out Carrot Top's leftover hardware. The clever foreshadowing was that those heads appearing were as a result of her mental abilities. She was making Daredevil see those heads. She didn't know he was blind, obviously, but she was affecting his brain. It meant that Daredevil thought those heads were actually there. His version of sight was as convinced as like he would have been had he been able to see them. What stops me from fully recommending this is we don't get any satisfying payoff to this. Mr. Mind, Martinique, she gets away. She got to cause some mischief and she leaves. After this, she next appears in Uncanny Excellent Men during Joe Kelly's run. At the same time, however, she also appeared, or was meant to appear, in Christopher Clairvoyant's Extreme Excellent Men. But that was re-scripted to be another daughter of Mr. Mind. We end up with two daughters of Mr. Mind running around at the same time. Back in Uncanny Excellent Men, Squealy keeps Mr. Mind captive and hooked up to machines, and exploits her powers. And God, look at the blatant Nazi iconography on display on this page. If I remember, Decibel from Generation Next, he wound up trapped inside Mr. Mind's mind, Martinique's mind. And I think there might have been a tease of a relationship there. Squealy was using her and her powers to make people more agreeable to his ideas, his idea of an aggressive, proactive, muty police force. Does anyone want me to suffer and look at that story? Eventually, Mistake, the Smurfette, showed up and slit Squealy's throat, and she released Mr. Mind. They were going to do evil shit together, but then I think Martinique just bailed, and she didn't appear again until almost 100 issues later, where she had transformed most of San Francisco into being like the 1960s. Anyone who stepped into her radius became part of this illusion. She was worshipped as a goddess by all the dirty, smelly hippies, until Cyclist and Emma Frosties put a stop to it. She was next on the Sex Team with her sister, a team devoted to sex. That's all I remember. Sex. After that, last time I saw her was in the Welsh Ones miniseries, and it turns out the Welsh one is also another of Mr. Mind's illegitimate children. Both the Mr. Mind girls were in that as second-tier villains. That is quite a thorough history of Martinique Jason. I am sure she is dead or an angry lesbian now. Here we have what I felt was going to be resolution, but it wasn't. Froggy acknowledges that Daredevil saved him instead of Electro, but rather than forgiveness, Froggy just leaves. Ribbit, ribbit. Were the ending a bit more satisfying, this would be a recommend. We don't get the villain defeated. We don't get the hero stopping the villain even. And then the one interpersonal relationship the issue explored or hinted at doesn't go anywhere. In many ways, that is to be expected from filler. So I have to give it a 7 thumbs up rating.